Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 576th episode of the GeekVerse podcast. More importantly, the Blue Beetle spoilers review, or review than spoilers discussion. I am up the ass, Travis Snail, and I'm joined by...
The Nan, Taylor Field.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are here reviewing Blue Beetle. I'm going to probably say that 10 times wrong. Apologize to anyone that saw the live stream, calling things we see there, the question mark. Sorry about that. We have here in Kelowna massive fires going on. So, not that we're... Taylor has to show the photo, but yes, you can look at the YouTube. It's massive. And not that we're evacuated, but oh, wow, that's crazy. Yeah. I was there, but how much it spread already from that photo and whatnot. But yes, that detoured us a little bit. Lots of traffic, lots of people being evacuated. My mom just called me all very worried. I think she's fine, but lots of the area here. So it's been a crazy night. So a little bit later, podcast people, no different to you. But this is Blue Beetle. This is us reviewing the newest DCEU movie or DCU movie. I don't know what it is anymore because it's still some DCU DC. I don't know. It doesn't really, but then he's the first character. That's all confusing. But luckily, we're not going to try and break that down. We're just going to talk about, hey, what is our thoughts on this movie? Taylor, where can they find all the good things we do when we are doing the things? This week we did a good newscast, you and I, Rebels Retro. We have all those out. You can go check out all 4 seasoned episodes. We got Ahsoka coming up. Me and Dale got SideQuest next week covering Gamescom opening night live, which apparently we're getting our first Rebel Moon trailer. So, yeah, where can they find us all?
Ladies and gentlemen, you can find us with your internet connection in the search bar. GeekVerse.ca is our home base. GeekVerse is our Twitter. GeekVerse is our Facebook. Yeah, this has turned into like a TNT kind of a week because it's just been me and Travis just plugging through, going to town, doing all these casts. But yeah, he said it. We got the Rebels stuff, anticipation for Ahsoka. News episode dropped. Lots of good stuff. Lots of good stuff. Lots and lots of good stuff.
God, Taylor, terrible on the Discord. You post our home's ablaze, and you're talking about Kelowna. Poor guy Sam's gonna think you're talking about your literal home. No, we're as right now.
No. I said hometown. I put town in there. I put town.
Okay. Did you? I didn't see that.
Yeah.
But yeah. Crazy. So, but yes, this is Blue Beetle. As usual, we're going to do our review. If you like what we do, head down below for everything you need to know. All our links, but most importantly, our Patreon, where you can do a bunch of tiers. We'll be doing an After 9 in a couple days where you get to call in at the 2 tier or up. So we'll be talking about Blue Beetle, other stuff. That's always a fun thing. It's us interacting with the listeners. 2 hours, always a good time. And lots of other benefits, ad-free, exclusive, early. And if you just want to support the channel, you can download, you can hit review, subscribe, but that is the ultimate way because all the funds that go there go back into other shows, so it's a good thing. Taylor Field, what did you think about Blue Beetles in the non-spoiler portion?
I was really surprised. I can honestly say that if I'm comparing this to Shazam 2, Black Adam, and The Flash, this is number 1 out of all those.
Wow, over The Flash.
Over The Flash, absolutely. I think CGI was really good, and you compare that to The Flash, it was eons better. There were so many things and just beats that I was really jiving with. There were very emotional moments, nothing that was like really bringing me like I was bawling my eyes out, but I was really connected into the emotional narrative that was going on. I liked how cohesive it was. It didn't feel choppy. It felt like they wrote a story. They made it like really good. I don't feel like there was any issues or bumps in the road. It just felt very cohesive, and it was very humbling. It was a good story, and I feel like at certain times our hero was not holding back. Like there was some very intense action-packed scenes. The choreography of the fights was really cool and impressive, and I was really happy with just how it turned out. I was so much invested in this that I would be very disappointed not to get that sequel follow-up, and I know it's not going to happen, and that is actually really crushing because I love this. This is easily one of my like top DCU films. I would say this is a really good time.
Fair enough. Yeah, you never know. I'm sure he might carry over the DCU. Who knows? We'll discuss that another time. But yeah, no, I did enjoy it myself as well. I think I have to preference this as always two minds what I do about superhero films, not because I always talk about superhero fatigue, right? I think in the most positive way it might sound like a bad thing, but I think this is a better than above average comic book movie. So the ones I compare is like a Quantumania, a Shazam 2 that we've got recently. I don't think Guardians, I don't think Flash. And I don't say it's better, just like those are different, right? There are bigger event films, one's a send off to a team. In this, hey, it's an adventure. And even Quantumania, you could say, well, they introduced Kang. It's like, yeah, but I just feel like that quality brings it down to it's an average superhero film, the ones I wouldn't recommend. Now, at the same time, I don't know if there's enough there. The best way I can say it is if you like superhero movies, the genre, I think you'll like this one in differing degrees for the most part. I think if the humor all hits for you, that's great. I think the action scenes are probably my other than I think his name's Solo. I have to look it up because I don't want to be like the characters in this movie and mispronounce names. That's not what I'm about. So if I refer to anybody by character name, that's why I'm doing it. But Solo, he's somebody I've not seen at all. And here's my preference of like I've read Blue Beetle, but only when they've. I think I read a little bit of like the Rebirth Blue Beetle or New 52, and then mostly just in team ups. Most of my experiences of him is with Young Justice, especially Jaime Reyes. I don't have much experience with Ted Kord, so I don't have much knowledge on that character. And then I don't watch Cobra Kai. So this is my first time seeing Solo in anything. I think he's really good. I think most of the cast is really good for the most part. I think there's some strengths here or there. I think there's some weaknesses here and there, but I think he's really good. But the action is really, really good in this movie. I really enjoy it. It's kind of what I wish some of those Michael Bay Transformer movies were, where you have, and even some of the Iron Mans, like Iron Man 1 doesn't have this type of action. So I'll put it over that. I think that it's one of these things that, like I said, there's for the superhero genre, I'd say, yeah, go check it out. Because even people that love superhero films, they might be tired of this genre and go, oh, I'll watch this at home. I think you go see this one. I think it's fun enough. I think for people that aren't in that category, though, where they're more picky, I still say this could be HBO Max or watch at home. I don't think there's enough there to push you that I don't think it's a must see movie on the big screen or to spend extra money for it if you're on the fence. As I've said before, I'm not. I'll see every Marvel and DC film till they stop making them. You know, I lived in an era where we didn't get those, so I will always go see them, and I enjoyed this one. But at the same time, I won't be returning to it in the near future. Okay, scratch that. I will be, because I didn't see this with Gwen, and I'm going to watch it with Gwen and the kids because I think it's kind of Power Rangery. But after that, I'll be kind of done. It's the same way there's certain movies that way with Emily, because she misses out on some movies with all the kids. It's like, okay, well, I'll watch it again because of you, but then after that, I'm done. Like Eternals, right? I watched it again because of her, but she's never had a reason to watch it, and I've never had a reason to watch it, and I probably won't for a very long time. In Blue Beetle, it's one of those things that I don't have, there's some good things in there, but I don't have anything pulling me. And that's where it is. It is tropey. It hits all the tropes, like multiple scenes you've seen 100 times over. You do have the race aspect, but I don't think it hits it as hard as like a Black Panther. I think it hits on, and I can't speak because I'm just a, white straight male, but I think it hits on some really good things. Like I talked about, there's a running gag of characters kind of saying people's name wrong, but even the way they talk down to some of the people in the community, you get this sense of people making them feel lesser than. So I think that's good. I just wish they did that more. Not that people were shitty more, just that the way Black Panther kind of tied that together. I think representation is good and matters, so that's good that's in there, but it's not like a race-driven story, which some people might go, oh, it's woke, I don't want that. So that's fine if you don't want that, but I enjoy that stuff because I like all those perspectives, so I could use more of that. The family stuff is very hit or miss, and I think this is my biggest pull away before we start getting into spoilers is I think at times this could have been, and I really like the score. The score has like this 80s synth sort of deal. I really like that. I think there's times during the action and some moments with the characters, and there's even one moment near the beginning of the third act. They're like, wow, they went there very strong. I think it's on the cusp of being really cool and really awesome and really badass. But then whether it's certain dialogue or certain jokes, it makes it feel kiddie or family friendly-ish, which is fine. That's probably what they're wanting, right? But it just feels like the second it's starting to evolve, it goes right back down to a joke you've heard 1,000 times or a trope you've seen 1,000 times, and they're not doing anything new different other than these are new actors or actresses doing this. So I think that's there. The comedy for me is very, I'd say 50-50, but it's probably less than that because the jokes, at least, I don't think they were bad jokes. They're just a lot of jokes I didn't react to. And our theater got a little more full. I think there's probably like 15, 20 people in it. Taylor was the only one really enjoying this movie. Our theater was fucking dead. Like
Not many
reaction wise,
laughs at all.
no. And I was, because I've been that many times where there's movies like, I think Jurassic World movies are prime examples where I'll see it. I know the audience. I think Jurassic World Dominion, when we saw that, people, was Dominion the last one or the newest one?
Mm-hmm. The Dominion was the newest one and the latest one.
What's the
Last
second one in that trilogy?
Fallen Kingdom.
Fallen Kingdom. I remember when I watched the movie, I knew I was completely alone, that the audience was having, loving a good time. This felt like I was in a fucking graveyard. It was quiet. It was like these jokes were not, I was just like, why did anyone else come here? And I guess I wasn't laughing too much. I was more laughing at Taylor's reaction to something, because I get a joke, I'm like, oh, I know Taylor's going to laugh. And then he's like, like he's laughing to the side.
George Lopez.
And see, and I don't think he was awful. I think you could have used a little less than him. I think sometimes there was too much going for the joke, and that's a problem I have with some things. As far as I guess they're trying to have a good time. It's just that when all the jokes aren't hitting for me, that's when I started to go, okay, I don't need all these. The villains suck. The villains are generic. You've seen this a bunch of times, and I think. They do something with the, what's his name, like Kreider Tax or Mr. Tax, whatever the hell his name is. We'll look it up. But like, they try to do something with this character, and I wish they didn't. I wish they just stuck like a generic badass way. So I don't like that. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. There's some morality things that didn't really hit for me either. They try to do this big thing with Jaime, and I think it falls pretty on deaf ears when you take into consideration all the other characters. When you have a character saying, I specifically don't want to do this thing, but everyone, including your family, is doing this thing and having a good time with it, it doesn't really hit home the message. So that's where it's like, this is not the greatest script. So that's why I'd say it's an above average superhero film. If you've had a little interest in it, I'd say if you have free time, sure, go see it, but I don't think it's one you got to rush out. The action scenes were great on the big screen. I think they really were creative. I heard the director saying they even looked at the Injustice games. Like, all the fight scenes, I enjoyed them, and those were highlights for me. I thought they were really cool. Choreography was really cool. So like I said, it's a really cool movie, but I wish there was a version of it where it's like mega cool, where it's like, oh, this is so, like, and I'm not trying to compare apples to apples or apples to oranges, but the way Iron Man, kind of that first Iron Man, had like, man, this is fucking cool. That's what I wish this is. And I get he's a younger character, has the family aspect, but sometimes they just went too kiddie, too Shazam-y, in my opinion. So yeah, I liked it. I had a good time with it. I will watch this again one day after the second watch with the kids, but I'm not in any, I feel like this will be like I'm doing a marathon sort of watch. Like, I could see myself not watching this for another 5 years. I don't think it has anything like Guardians or Flash I'd watch again, because even Flash, that, you know, I have issues with, and I don't think the score's too far apart. The highs of Flash are really high. I don't think this has any huge highs. There's one scene in particular that I thought was outstanding and really, really well done. So there is, I'd say, one moment that was a high, but come Golden Geeks time, I don't think I'd tell Dylan or Kirkland to watch. I don't think I'd be fighting for it in really any categories. So I think it's an above average, you know, good superhero movie, a good time, fun time. I think you won't be disappointed if you like the genre, but if you don't, there's, there's not too much there, unless you like this specific hero. You've been waiting for Blue Beetle, or, if you're part of that community and you've been waiting for, a Hispanic superhero, then I get it. But if you're just, a liker of the genre, that's where I am. So is there anything non-spoilers you want to get into before we jump over?
No, I think you kind of hit everything on the head. Yeah, we mentioned the score, and there definitely were some generic things too, but no, I'm really, really hype off this movie. It's something I will easily see again multiple times, and I'd watch this over a few other DC films for sure.
Nice. I think obviously he comes in later on, but I do recommend. I think it might be on Netflix in Canada, if not someday, or maybe you can wait. Maybe we'll retro it. But I think you'd really like Young Justice, because Jaime's in there a lot, and that features a lot of the younger heroes. But I think you'd really like that show. There's some good storylines there. Mm-hmm. So yeah, if you've not seen it, if you've not seen it, or you just don't care, whatever your preference is, we're about to get in spoilers, so we're gonna take a little ad break right now. And when we get back, we'll go full Monty, talk about Blue Beetle, the villains, the twists, the turns, the end credits, all that good jazz. So we will be right back. And we're back. So I want to start now, it sounds more negative. I just want to start on some of the trope stuff, because just while it's on my brain, it's stuff like things that I hate is like when we have Jaime and who is the Jenny Cord. they have their budding romance. They start up and they do like the thing midway throughout the film where they're about to kiss, and then George Lucas or
George Lucas, he's
hey,
in
don't
the
kiss.
DC.
Are you wearing a condom, Jaime? You have big responsibility with that. No, George Lopez comes like, oh, I found the answer, and they spit off and like they're not going to talk. That's the type of tropey stuff that every trope you've seen in a superhero or even action movie is in here. And there's times where I was like, oh, I wish they'd do this differently. I wish they just a little twist. I wish they just kissed there and that'd be fun. Like that's where I said almost like Iron Man, where that was a movie where it did that and then it twisted some tropes, because it kind of has that Iron Man feel with the machines, with the tech, but also just like I said, with sometimes that having a cool factor. So I wish it was someone looked over the script a few times the same way James Gunn's kind of like, oh yeah, the third act, these movies are very similar. Same thing in this. It's like, okay, there's gonna be a big battle. We're gonna have a hero turn, all this stuff. So, and it's fine because it is like a first outing. Who knows if there's a sequel, because we'll talk about box office in another newscast. But I do think it hits a very much, you've seen this many times before, and I'll probably have more examples, but the kiss one was the biggest one. I was like, oh, please just kiss here. Don't interrupt them. And Lopez comes in, oh, I found the answer. And you go, oh, okay, we're doing this. And then they do that a few more times. So, oh, well, it is what it is.
Yeah, it's very predictable when that kind of occurs, or when the scene is kind of unfolding and getting close to it. You know it's gonna happen. I don't know if I need it to be anything different, because like, yeah, they could kiss too at that time, but I don't know if that's really gonna like change it up. I don't know.
So just have them kiss. Don't do the like that interruption trope's been happening since like the 80s. Don't do it.
That's true. That's
don't
true.
do
Like,
it.
I think the whole setup for that scene between our two characters was fantastic, because she hasn't been in this house for a long time. It's about her dad, everything with her family, and she's in the home. She's seeing her mom. Like, there's so much emotional tension going on for her, and she's in this vulnerable state. And so to her have that moment, like where she does go like to kiss him, because he's wearing her dad's clothes. Like, it's all like just crazy flashbacks here and stuff like that. Just being with the family, and so. Yeah, I think she did a fantastic job in that sequence, but yeah.
Where did you want to start? Let's start on positive. What is something you like the most, character, moment? Where do you want to go?
I really loved how Jaime is how you pronounce it, right?
Jaime, yeah, not
Jaime.
Jamie. As there's a joke which I really like, because they have Susan Sarandon keep doing like they have like these racial undertones, right? And where she keeps calling this character Sanchez, which, oh god, Sanchez, that death, man. I had to look at you. I hated. There's
smiling through the glass door, like
I know we're gonna get to pause, but I just have to say, because these are little things that I will forget. The two things of, they have this character that's a receptionist, and he's introducing himself as Jaime, and she's, oh Jamie, Jamie, you go sit there. I like that. That was a good, like, I think that was good for like the racial bit, but I think it was just good genuine humor. And then they have Susan Sarandon, who makes like multiple like racist remarks. It says like, oh god, like a Reba, like she just says a couple of those where it's like, okay, this is very stereotypical.
Andale or something.
Andale, yeah, that's what it was, right? Yeah, Andale, go, and just certain things, like little shots of the characters, right? But there's this character that's not Sanchez. I can't remember his full name. I'll have to look it up. But again, I'm not gonna do what Susan Sarandon did. But she just calls him Sanchez. Eventually gets mad. He almost kills Jaime, and then because Jaime survives, he's like, oh yeah, I guess I'll be on his team now, and it's fine. Then he like lets him go. He gets him out this big lock like prison cell, and then he takes a fire extinguisher and he hits the lock so no one else can go get Jaime. And then it's just this weird cut of he's just like staring and smiling, and I'm like. And then he just gets fucking just murdered by like Sitpax or whatever the character's name is. It was just this more like, oh, why did we do this? And then they just got out the door. It made no difference. So it was kind of funny. But you can continue on your point now of Jaime.
Yeah, I just think that his level of acting in those emotional moments was fantastic. When he was subdued and they were dragging him away from the house, and he's just like screaming and freaking out. It was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
This is really, really intense. And there was at times I was getting Tobey Maguire, Peter Parker, Spider-Man scenes, like when some of those moments, like when Toby's really just like angry.
I don't know if that's a good comparison.
Like,
Toby's not the greatest actor,
But Toby, for me, always delivered those angry scenes, like that moment when Goblin is just like, MJ and I are gonna have a hell of a time, and like Toby's just like fucking furious. That was good shit. even like maybe like Tom Holland's a better example when he's gotten like some angry parts when he's fighting Goblin in No Way Home, and he's just like so fucking angry. And I felt like, okay, when you have him and Cadillacs, I think is his name, when they're fighting, and he thinks that his side, he
Cadillacs? I don't think his name's Cadillacs either.
is it not Cadillacs? Okay. Um, he's fighting the equivalent villain, and he thinks his uncle's dead. He knows his dad's dead, and just the anger that he has, like he's just like he's fucking mad. And I loved it so much because the suit and the symbiotic relationship that it formed with him was just held him back. I was like, we don't kill people, Jaime. I really that just really got to me. I really like that scene a lot. So it just, yeah, there's just his anger and how much energy and emotion he was pouring into that. I just think he just delivered this role so well. He blew it out of the water for me. I was not expecting that. That's one of the biggest surprises for me, actually, with indulging in this.
Yeah, see, so that's one thing. That's the scene that I would say is like the top kind of win above many others. Like if I was gonna say a high that could compare to Flash, that moment where so they have we're jumping all over, but if you've seen the movie, you know he's gone Blue Beetle, the Scarab and stuff. The movie progresses, blah blah blah. Him, Lopez, and the Jenny Cord are at this base for Ted Cord. They're doing all this stuff. Very awkward scene where they're just at the base and Susan Sarandon's character and the villains like fly over the base, like fly over, don't do anything to our heroes, but then they're like, oh my god, they're going back home. It was very odd that they just happened to fly over Ted Cord's house. Maybe there's something more to that. I digress. But yeah, they go there, they invade, they're looking for the Scarab, they're looking for Jaime, not there, so they take the family. There's already concern about the family not being, it could be illegal immigrants, that could come up, but now this looks almost just more like a life and death situation. Some things are going on. Blue Beetle does get there, but it's a little late because his dad's one got a punch. He punched a guy. His dad, they've set up early on in the movie, had a heart attack while Jaime was at college. So he came back. They gave him that information. And then he starts to have a heart attack. And I did, it was kind of odd. Like I said, I have some moments like that where Blue Beetle's like, he just has some dialogue where he's like, yeah, fuck yeah, this is the best. And like literally his sister's like off just like, oh my God. He's like, yeah, you like that. Like it was a little, I think the editing, not the greatest in that moment. Just take those lines out and just make him defending him. But he does see his dad down. The monitor tells him that his dad's, having some heart issues. But great moment where he goes to help. He's getting his like rockets ready on his wrist. He's going to shoot the bad guys out of there because they had some big claw to catch Blue Beetle. But he hears his dad's falling down, having another heart attack. That takes his focus off. The claw gets him, and they literally drag him past his dad while his dad's having a heart attack and dying. And I'm very happy because when they later on were giving him CPR, I was very worried they were going to go back on it and make the dad still be alive and just be like, make sure you go get my son for me. I was like, please don't. Like that moment hit so hard. And yeah, you're right. I think he did a great job. And that's good stuff where it's like, I think we've seen variations of that, but that felt very specific to this movie, the pacing of it. And I thought it was very, very well done to the family's reaction. And just a great that where the villains, they're not great. They just want power. They have very much generic motivations, but you hate them right away of like, man, what a scumbag thing to do. This guy's trying to save his father. And you literally have him locked up, pulling him away, like pulling away from his dying dad. So I thought that was an outstanding moment. That's where I was like, okay, third act, we're getting really good. Now what happens is 5 minutes later, you have a Blue Beetle that's farting on people. So that's where I start to go, maybe I'm back to reality.
The tank, not the character.
Just yeah, so no, the character context. Too in the end credit, he's just like, no, yeah, you're right. But that was my issue where when it was starting to evolve, I was like, okay, here we go, third act, and then it would be, Lopez making a lot of jokes. A lot of the family seemed pretty chippy. Like I said, it's just tear gas, but it literally says Beetle fart on it, and it's like, all right, that's where I think they started to take me out of it for there as far as really enjoying the third act, and even the family stuff. I know you're same thing when the grandma had the gun and was killing people. Oh, yeah. You were laughing, theater dead fucking. So I was like, is anybody gonna laugh at this? And I didn't think it was that funny either because the family stuff, I like it to a certain amount, but I wish they weren't all up in the action. I don't need that. Blue Beetle's fine. You can cut some time down. And that's where to tie into where you brought up where I did like the scene later on when I'll try and find the villain's name, but And we'll get into that villain too. But he's down and out. It's the final fight. Jaime is going to kill him. And the Scarab stops and says, we don't kill people. And that's a big thing where early on it's very much like a Spider-Man No Way Home or Homecoming, right? Where it has a kills version of the suit right away. They want to do that. And, Jaime's like, no casualties. I don't want to kill people. And eventually the suit does listen to him and change that. I think what undercuts the point for me is you have in one scene the grandma with a machine gun just mowing people down, and then you have George Lopez stepping on people with the Blue Beetle bug, and it's just all played for laughs. And that's where for me it's just I couldn't get on board with Jaime and this big Batman struggle if I don't want to kill people, when all around him his family people are just killing people and it's played off as jokes. That for me is where it's like, it's fine if they kill people, and that could be like, I love that line in the Batman, right, of like when Batman says no guns and Gordon's like, that's your thing, dude. And I like that because it is a joke, but it is like hey, you're gonna do your thing, I'm gonna do my thing. This is like a over the top giddy, like Lopez is like and they're listening to Motley Crue, like whatever. It's like Kickstart My Heart. That's for me where some of the emotional stuff, if you cut that family things out, I think Jaime's journey is enhanced because they're just killing goons all over the place. I don't now care if Jaime doesn't kill people or not because his fucking grandma and his uncle's just killing people. So I'm not sure if that did anything for you. I just wish they figured out a way not to have the family kill people when they're doing the arc of, or just have Jaime kill people. That's fine with me. It's just like, hey, I'm just going to kill people. Cool. But it felt kind of mixed messaging in my opinion. And it was one of the weaker aspects of the script, I think, or the story.
I did think it was peculiar because, like there's a clearly defining scene where this bug ship tank, the one leg pierces through a guy and is like moving around. It's like he's been penetrated and stabbed, and like,
and that happens multiple times after too. The bug steps on a lot of people and it definitely kills them. They're dead.
They kill a lot of people. But I kind of overlooked it. I thought it was like, these guys are pretty cold-blooded killers to begin with, but I really enjoyed the action sequence of just the tank being there, and then like all the guys like running and just like shooting down this. I thought it was really, really cool. The family really surprised me because of how capable they were. I really appreciated that, and I liked when the grandma stepped in. She's like, now's not the time to cry. There will be a time, but it's not now. Now we got to get together and we got to go and save Jaime and everything. So, and her just like militarized like mindset she had back, like freeing them from the regime back. That was so good. I was all up in that. A thing with the villains that I just want to quickly point out, and it goes hand in hand with something that you had a con with. I laughed at it because I was like, what? I legit was like, what the fuck is going on? Because the main guy, he's getting like about to be souped up with the Cadillac's guy. No, it's not his name, but he's getting souped up.
He's getting the Blue Beetle coating. Yeah.
Yeah. And so our main head lady, who's Miss Cord, I believe is her name. Yeah. She walks over to him because he's holding like a little like keychain with his family in it, and then he drops it, and she comes up, she picks up like, I'll keep this safe for you, and puts it in her pocket. I'm thinking, what the fuck? That's the weirdest thing to do.
Yeah,
that kind of pulled me out.
I think it's Sarapax. It's Carapax. I'm just
gonna that would be Kara.
Carapax. Yeah, that sounds about right. I'm just gonna call him Pax for now. So I laughed the same thing as you because. So, like I said, villains-wise, Susan Sarandon's just playing, and this is where I was fine with it. Not every movie you need like the 10 out of 10 villain to be that other level. I think most of the time you do. I think there's rare exceptions, but anyways, they don't have that. Susan Sarandon is just power hungry, wants the Beetle, wants the Scarab for power, right? Okay, fine. We've seen that before. She plays Ted Cord's sister, which I completely missed that all these people were related to Cord. I didn't know that was happening, but plays a sister, did a takeover when Ted Cord goes missing. They established that. So that's fine. We get what we get. We got a few members, things of family, but again, with the tropes, literally, she's telling her niece to like not get in the way, and she's like, oh, what are you going to do with it? Like, what are you going to do? And she has some line of like, you don't want to find out what's going to, like every line you've heard in an action movie of like, or I think it's like, oh, you better not do this. Or it's like, you're going to make me do this. I can't remember. It happens in the first 15 minutes. You would know the line I'm talking of. It's very mid, you've heard it 1,000 times where it's like, oh, can't we just say anything different here? But alas, we don't. So we get her and then we get Pax. So The thing I had with Pax is, again, so they introduce him like kind of in the end of the first act, but beginning of the second, we get a great fight scene with him and Blue Beetle. I thought that was really good. That's the first time Blue Beetle's like learning his powers and all this stuff. So yeah, that's really cool. We're getting the kill not kill argument. That's fine. And the thing is, for other than there's when we first meet him and Sarandon together, you can see he's like a little off, a little quiet, and there's something there. There's definitely a power dynamic. But for the most part of the movie, they've not done much to make him be a fleshed out villain. It just seems like he's going to be a goon, even to the point where he is the guy that shoots the claw that gets Jaime and drags him away while his father's dying. So at this point, I'm just fine. And again, I'm fine if my heroes kill. Batman, I prefer not to. In other ones, there's certain ones. But with Blue Beetle, it's like, sure, I don't care. Um, there's just a moment where, he's dragging away and I'm like, okay, you have my permission to die, Pax. He's like, you can kill him, Jaime. That's completely fine. And he doesn't. But then what they do is, as they were talking about, right before he's about to get this operation, he looks down. And this whole movie, he's just been a generic goon. Just bad guy gonna get Jaime. He looks down, has a pocket, like a picture of his, probably a sibling or himself, and then his mother. And so already I'm like, man, they're going to try for like the last 20 minutes to try and give us some backstory to care about this villain. I really wish they just made him a badass goon and stuck with it. The villains aren't great. Just make them bad, make them cool. That's it. So you get that. And then later on when Jaime goes to kill him, that's when the Beatles like, no, you don't know his story. And then we get his whole story about how he was a child of war and his mom got blown up and all this stuff. So they try to make him sympathetic that he shouldn't kill him. But it's just like, it doesn't matter. Like, you helped, like even if you didn't kill his father, you helped in the death of it. Like the flashbacks and stuff, I understood that you could make him he went down a darker path. Then sure, make a whole movie about that. Take out Susan Sarandon and flesh it out more. To throw this all in the last 10, 15 minutes just feels like such a cop out. It felt like even that little photo thing. It felt like reshoot stuff. I don't know if it was, but it felt like reshoot stuff. And then what happens is, just like every trope we've seen before, Jaime doesn't kill him. He looks at Susan Sarandon. He takes Susan Sarandon to fire and explodes himself. So he kills himself and Susan Sarandon get back at her again, something we've seen before. So yeah, I did not like that. The whole, I'll keep this handy. The whole rushed backstory we got. Like, did you end up caring about him at all at that point of like these flashbacks very, very rapidly given to us?
I sympathized for him a little bit, but I still wasn't totally emotionally invested in the character. I thought it was interesting because it sounded like he forgot everything, and then he kind of says it too, like, I remember now or something like that. And it's like, so this Blue Beetle scanned his memories and then was able to jog it for him, and that's what like turned on another cheek, because he remembers being this victim, and he remembers that this Miss Cord lady came in and just kind of like, I guess obviously ruined his life for the most part. But yeah, it was very, very expedited, very rushed. And they didn't show the scene, but I can only imagine it's pretty fucking unfortunate, because he just drags Victoria Cord by her legs into the fire and just walks in. So she roasts alive, which is not pleasant.
And then he explodes too. So it's, didn't go good for them. But yeah, they don't do too much with them. They're kind of what you expect. Like I said, I really like the fight scenes. Was there anything specifically about the villains you want to talk about while we're on them?
I mean, you said it. They're pretty much just the same, like, stereotypical villains. They don't have the strongest of motivations, but yeah, I don't know. I definitely liked Carapax more than I liked Mrs. Cord. But
I was kind of surprised they killed her off too. I thought she'd be sticking around, especially with the end credit thing. But no, she's I would assume she's gone in pieces.
Yeah, well, she's totally toast. In relation to the end credit scene, I feel like it's not her in kind of like association with Ted Cord, because I really thought when she was on the helicopter with her niece, I thought she was going to say like, oh, I'm going to kill you like I killed your father, or something very sinister like that, which would be very much out of the book. But she didn't, so obviously whatever happened with Ted is very much something very, very different.
Yeah. Yeah, let's talk about them. Let's talk about maybe her because we talked about Solo. Like I said, you did at the beginning. Maybe I didn't just stress enough that yeah, that scene was great. The emotional one. I think his comedic chops are pretty good. I think he does have good chemistry with the girl that plays Jenny. I think Jenny got better overall when she started the movie. I thought, oh, this is maybe not the greatest performance I'll say, but I think it got better. She was in the group dynamic. But yeah, I think he did good. He is a character that who knows what the fuck is happening. But if again, I would rather let's do the hard reboot for DCU. We're not doing that, or salvage the DCU. We're not doing that either. We have some sounds like some weird amalgamation of we're rebooting, keeping some, keeping none. So or keeping some, keeping not keeping some. So if we're doing that again, I'm not the biggest fan, but if we are doing that, then I'll take anyone I like, and I liked him as Blue Beetle. So I don't know if it'd be Blue Beetle 2 or if they do a Young Justice or they just put him in Justice League. Sure, I think he did a great job. It's tough because it's like the Iron Man thing where there's a lot of it he's not in, right? They do the eye shots, it's a lot of his voice, but I think it all worked. He is very charismatic. I liked his performance. I liked the character. That's the biggest thing. You want to fall in love with the main character, and I would like to see this character do more adventures. So I think the writing, for the most part, of just making him endearing worked out, and his performance worked out well. The family, I thought overall, like I said, was good. Sometimes maybe a little bit too much of them. I'm never a fan of unless it's done in a very fun, cheesy way, or maybe some anime movies can pull it off of the whole family there in the final battle. I get that, like you said, oh, they're learning fast. I get that, but they're going up against these like armed, trained soldiers and guards, and they can just easily dispatch them. So I never really liked the whole, feels very Scooby-Doo-ish type of finale, very Saturday morning cartoon. But for performances wise, I liked Lopez a lot. Like I said, there's sometimes maybe in it too much, but I was a fan of the George Lopez show. I liked when they gave him a few more kind of more emotional scenes. So he wasn't as bad as he could have been, but it still could have been a little bit better at editing. I really liked the actress that portrayed his sister. I thought she was really good. And then I think the mom, the grandma, and the dad were all at the same level of they served their role. I don't think they had too much to do. I don't think they had any standout scenes. Maybe the dad at the end with Jaime and like kind of the heaven-like status. I think that was good for the most part. It had a weird ending, but yeah. So I think overall the family dynamic works here for the heart and soul of it. Some comedy for the overall story could have lessened them. Maybe they get kidnapped and Jaime's the one that goes there and gets them. But overall, it worked for me. But again, nothing the home run about where I'm like, man, this family. It's not like I'm not trying to compare Marvel to DC, but I will do like a Guardians, right, where they're not family, but after Volume 1, it's like, man, I got to see all these characters together. If we get a sequel, of course, I'd want to see these characters back. But if they also just said, it's just Jaime, I'd be like, okay, that's fine. There's no one I absolutely needed. But I know you were loving George Lopez. So talk about George Lopez and anybody else you want to talk about here.
George
after
Lopez.
this ad break. We're back. You talked too quick there. I was going to get you, but you were ready to talk about George Lopez,
Too quick, yeah.
Did he
George
hit 100%
Lopez,
of the time for you?
Oh, 100% of the time. Yeah, he's kind of like a Jim Carrey for me. He's just so freaking funny when he's just shouting out. And yeah, I was the one guy laughing out loud in the theater at his comments and stuff. Yeah, I liked how humorous he was, but he was also able to portray that very serious, emotionally connecting character. Like when they were on the roof and they were having that moment, I really, really liked that. At the end, too, there was some good stuff. Everyone in the family really just surprised me because I was not big on the concept of him having the family all hop on the ship and join him in battle and all that stuff based on trailers. But once you watch the film and you see the build up and you see how everyone is connected to each other and just the emphasis on family, I think they really did a good job tackling it and explaining it. And by the time we get to it, even though it's quirky with having the Nan operate like the death machine, like a big like heavy gun, there's just so many other things that I could get on board with, and I really, really enjoyed seeing with the family. I think that the actress that played the sister was really funny ever since they started off at the start of the film. The actress that played both the mom and then the actor that played the dad, I thought they were both really, really good. I felt like no family member was really shafted. They all had an adequate amount of time focused on them, with obviously George Lopez being the main kicker because he's the guy that could do anything. He's the guy in the chair. He's got all the gizmos. He's an inventor and all that kind of jazz. So yeah, I think
very big inventor. He was creating some fucking like James Bond like gadgets in this movie where I was again they represent this family as they have no money, they're about to lose their house, and I guess you could say George Lopez was stealing stuff, but man, he he could make fucking some tech. I'll tell you that. Let's see there. What else we want to talk about? What about that? How was the action for you? Because I feel like you're a big Iron Man, War Machine, Iron Man 2. I mean, maybe it's not like that, but there was a lot of action. I give them credit. Lots of different uses of weapon, like the sonic blasters, the swords, some guns, the shields. You had to see some of Ted Gord's gear, but like I said, for me, the action was a standout. Maybe that's where I'd watch more of a supercut of the action. But I thought that was very well done for the most part for like a comic book movie to get me invested. So how did you take the action in this movie?
I love the action. I think choreography wise, it was really cool. I was totally invested in how, especially that final fight, how it was just going and the fighting and everything like that. When Jaime got the upper hand and then got out Cloud's sword and was just going to town on Carapax. I loved all that. Yeah, everything in the tunnel sequence, that was really, really cool as well. I really got excited because he was very Iron Man-y at times, and so his first kind of like fight reveal when he didn't want to kill anyone but just kind of like hurt and disarm them when his family was being detained, and he just kind of showed up and he was just a badass. How he was just taking them all on. I really liked that. I liked how he was shifting his weapons around in his hands. Very, very cool stuff. I guess his first fight, even though he got his ass handed to him initially against Carapax, and then Jaime relinquished control to the AI, and then the AI was just fighting and doing cool flips and everything like that. I was just getting so on board with it, and I'm glad that it didn't seem like a lot of that was like all CGI. I mean, if it was, they did a great job, but it felt like, again, you mentioned the suit was a practical effect. They actually had this real suit on him, which was nice because I think that stood out in
Not
many
in
of
every
the
shot, but
scenes.
yeah, for a
Not
lot of
every
it,
shot.
yeah.
No, not when he went to space or anything like that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, the suit looked good. Yeah, I guess we talked about that too. Majority of the effects, I think, looked really well. There was a random shot where when they're at Ted Cord's mansion, they had some flamingos for some reason that did not look good. So that was odd. But no, the actual beetle looked good. The blue beetle, like scarab in action, looked good. The transformation scene looked good. So I think that's something that obviously this movie's been cooking for a while, but I think it is a smaller scale, so easier to, I won't say not easier to animate, but just a lot less things kind of pushing against you as far as time, or with Flash, there's lots of it there. So no, I think it all looked good. I think Pax he looks a little CGI Transformer heavy at times, but he is a more bulkier design, so it's kind of tough. You can't have an actor wearing that actual suit, but no, I thought all the action, whether it was with the guys or with other Blue Beetle type villains, that visual wise, it looked good. So I can't say this is one of those superhero movies, at least, that go into the, hey, this CGI is really bad and takes me out of it. So give it a thumbs up for that.
Yeah, thumbs up on CGI for me too. And like I said earlier in the non-spoilers, the Flash was absolutely its own kind of category of CGI, especially that baby scene. But when we get into this, it's just the way they did the suit and the way they did the spaceship and everything. I just feel like, oh, this is really, really good quality. The flamingos, I will back you up on. That was definitely, it stood out very peculiarly. Like, yeah, these are not real flamingos. You can definitely tell that. So
it's like, why put them there? Why? Like you don't need there.
Yeah, it's very weird.
Yeah, it was an odd choice there. But what do you feel about Jenny Cord and the chemistry she had with Solo, or lack thereof, or however you take that?
I loved it. I thought that the moment it starts off with like this boss and employee kind of relationship dynamic, it feels like, I just love how it evolves and turns into this really loving relationship with each other. Obviously they don't get into like a full relationship, but if you can feel the groundwork and the foundations forming for that, and especially that end scene when he's like, I'll can I take you there, and she's like, okay, and he turns into his suit and flies away. And I just feel like I could believe that they were dating outside of this movie. Put it that way. They sold me that hard.
I think there's some rumors they might be, or some people have insinuated that, because if you look at just some videos they post together, they're pretty handsy with one another and stuff. But yeah, I thought they had good chemistry. Like I said at the beginning, I wasn't buying her character too much. It felt a little flat, but no, I think she worked well. It's one of those things that at the end of the film when she like hugs the family, I bought into that. she's a lost character because her dad's missing and her aunt is the evil villain and stuff, hates it. Her and her dad want to take the company in a less weapons way. Susan Sarandon's the complete opposite, wants to make these OMAC machines. But yeah, I think they had some good chemistry. I think again with tropiness, I don't know how you end it, the idea of, oh, you want to go for a fly, and they kiss and then he flies away and it's the woohoo. It's like, okay, I don't know. I guess you could put that scene somewhere. I don't know if I wanted to be the ending, but it was fine. But yeah, she gives George Lopez a job. I think they did a good job. I don't think it's what we're talking about news where it's going to be one of these top 10 or top 5, romance stuff. No, nothing like that. But I think it's serviceable and it's not bad. So that's really all you can ask for with a romance with these characters. So that is at least a thumb up for me, and I liked her enough in it. So were you surprised that they killed off the dad character in this? I didn't ask you about that earlier.
The dad character?
Yeah.
Oh, Jaime's dad, not Ted.
No. Yeah, you were surprised they killed Ted Core off screen, which, talk about in a second. But
I was surprised, but at the end of the day, like, it makes sense. It's the motivation. You have the character who doesn't want to really be the hero, and you have that Uncle Ben scenario, and it makes this guy the hero. There are definitely some parallels of Spider-Man, I feel like, to a degree in this, and that's okay. Yeah, I just think that I like seeing the dad being really, really wise and just very understanding with Jaime, and it made for some really good emotional sequences. And so his death served as a great narrative moving forward for Jaime to just kind of embrace being Blue Beetle.
Yeah. Yeah. How did you feel about the spiritual meaning and stuff? I liked the idea behind it. I think the overly huge CGI world kind of took me out of it. It was looking kind of very Quantumania-esque at times, so I wish it wasn't that way. I think that room that they were in with all the candles was enough, even though some of those were CGI. I kind of wish they just kept it there. So I thought their final scene was the context wasn't context wasn't bad. It was just what surrounded it kind of made me not enjoy it as much.
Yeah, I think that visually it was not the most appealing, because I agree with you. The context is definitely where it's at, and I like the idea behind it. But visually speaking, it was not really doing it for me. Him just kind of like jumping and doing like one of those like religious painting poses. He's going to like touch the tip and with the finger of the other, the Blue Beetle,
which we just saw in Guardians of the Galaxy, pretty much with Star Lord and Adam Warlock. So that's coming up a bunch this year.
James Gunn's like, we got to put this in all of our movies.
That's why he's a DCU character. He's like, you did the thing. I love it. Thank you. That's my favorite thing. So. Is there anything else before we get to like a final rating here? Anything else? Any scene, character moments you want to shout out? I guess we go. Well, I'll let you go first and we talk about the ending credits. But is there anything to shout out specifically?
I don't think so. I mean, the only kind of hint was like the extended universe was the Gotham Knights hoodie that he was wearing.
He wasn't wearing a Gotham Knights hoodie.
Yeah, it was a Gotham Knights, not the game, but like Gotham, like the football team.
Oh, I missed that one.
Because it was yellow and it said Gotham on it. It had like a football kind of symbol on it. That was when he was talking to his dad at the start.
Oh, I caught the orange hoodie he was wearing. That was like, it said like Gotham Law on the back or something, which I don't know. Was that trying to...
did it? Oh, yeah. I thought it was Gotham Knights on the front because it was like yellow. Was that the same
Maybe
scene
it says
with his
Knights.
dad?
It was a family scene, so I don't know for sure if it was or wasn't. I was very curious that just meant he went to do law school in Gotham, which... very risky move as a parent, don't let him go there. Obviously, that's what they do said at the beginning. We talked about a little bit that he was off to college and a lot of stuff's gone down. Heart attack. They've lost some job. They're going to lose the house, but they didn't want to tell him because they want him to focus on school. They say he's a smart character. I don't think he gets to do anything smart. They kind of have George Lopez figure it all out and give him the exposition. So I feel like they could have given a little bit more to Jaime, but that's fine. Not a massive negative, but, yeah, I think that's pretty much all the stuff I can think of. That we got 2 end credit scenes. The second end credit was just like a joke about a cartoon that was in something else later. So, okay, that's fine. And that's where this is where the family dynamic hurt me sometimes, where Jaime has a transformation. All this stuff is happening, and he crashed back down the second time. And then they start talking about this TV show, and the family's like dancing and singing together, and they're having a good time. Then Jaime leaves, like, oh, where'd Jaime go? I just in that moment wouldn't buy that anybody would do that, like your son, brother, nephew just turned into this thing, and now you're already kind of sitting having a good time in what is a high octane situation. That's my best example of what the family would do sometimes, where I feel like, this just isn't really adding much to it, or I'm not enjoying it. So, but yeah, we got to end this. The first mid credit, or just the only mid credit, was some footage of some, like, very much like what the Flash's post credit scene was supposed to be, a bat flick, but it's Ted Kord saying, "Oh, someone get this message to Jenny. Her dad's alive." And it's funny because I don't know if this is something I made up, like a Mandela effect, or I heard it. I swear at one point, way back ago, there was rumors that Jason Sudeikis was going to be playing Ted Kord, and they showed a painting of Ted Kord with his family, and he looked like Jason Sudeikis from the fucking football show or whatever it is, because he had the mustache and the
Ted
hair.
Lasso.
Yeah, Ted Lasso to Ted Kord. And at first, when we got the message, it sounded like him a little, but then it didn't. So, obviously, we didn't talk about this. They incorporated lots of Ted Kord stuff. I actually thought that was really well done. I like this idea of that he was a superhero. I like that they all kind of discount him, like, well, he wasn't as good as Batman or Superman, but he tried, and that's why we loved him. So I thought that lore was in there the perfect amount where it adds to the story. And if you know stuff about him, great. If you don't, it doesn't affect it. It's just a minor part of the story. I did like, again, who knows what we do with a sequel or follow up. I thought that was like for an end credit scene, like intriguing and see what we're gonna do. Again, something we've seen before, but I like the Ted Kord original Blue Beetle inclusion stuff, and I liked that post credit. What's gonna come of it though, I don't know.
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised by seeing like the Ted Kord Blue Beetle setup. I was not anticipating it at all, but I really liked how he was not able to harness the powers. It was his like doctor friend that was, and so
Yeah,
basically Ted just did a bunch of tests and was able to kind of mimic that technology and create other weapons and stuff like
yeah,
that, so he could be a Blue Beetle and save the
yeah.
day, which
The
I
beetle
really
didn't go up his
appreciate.
ass, as
Yeah, it didn't go
Lopez
up
liked
his
to make that
ass.
joke many times. Because to go up your ass.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it was obviously way better than the other post credit scene, but I thought it was a really really good one, and it definitely motivated me to want to stick around and figure out like, okay, what's the story being told.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's everything. Because, like I said, it might sound like a smaller view, but it's just us two. But also, it's just like it's kind of what happens, I guess. Plot wise, they're trying to get the Blue Beetle. They get him, like we talked about. They're trying to take the dad off. They do. They put that in the packs, and they're trying to get more of this suit. They got the coating, so she can go on to make a bunch more packs and bad guys and Omax and stuff. They destroy it. They destroy the villains. It's pretty straightforward. The second you know the movie's going, you've seen it. Lots of trailer stuff points out the direction of it. So, yeah, I think I'm like I've gone anywhere back. I think I'm going to the middle score. If I've been like a 6.5, and then I was a 7.5, then a 7. I think I need one more watch, and I will watch because I think the girls would like it. There is like, I think for kids and families, it's a fun thing. I think, Turtles is out, so that's probably more fun, but still you have that. And I will watch because I think it is a little Power Rangers-esque, so I think they will enjoy it. So I'll get a better gauge then, but that's where where at times, I don't know if it ever got down to a 6. Maybe it did, but it was more often jumping between like the 6.5, 7, 7.5. Usually I give movies 7 that I feel like even if I don't love them or they're bad or guilty pleasures, I'm going to watch a bunch again. I don't think I will watch this one again, but I'll give it a 7 just for some action stuff and being a bit above average as a superhero movie. If I were to watch Blue Beetle again, I would be like, Blue Beetle. I wouldn't be like, oh my God, but it also wouldn't be like, man, you're making me watch this. So I'll stick with a 7 for now. Obviously, reserve my chance to change my opinion based on a couple more watches, but that's where I'll go right now is a 7. I don't know where that ranks in the DCEU. I'll have to rank those again when it ends, but I think that's probably lower mid pack somewhere in there because there's been a couple of them now. So, but that's what I'll stick with that for now, a 7.
Okay. I'm thinking I'm gonna go probably like a 9 out of 10.
Ooh,
I
9 out of
liked,
10.
again, like I said before, I liked it more than Flash, more than Black Adam, more than Shazam 2. So this one definitely has
More than the
created
Flash.
its
Wow.
it's created its own like position to stand on, which I really like, and I just feel like it was really nicely cohesive from start to finish, and I got on board with most like all the characters, and the story was very intriguing, and I'm not even sure how long it was, but it did not feel that long when we were watching it. So
I think it's like roughly 2 hours or something. I think they could have chopped a little bit of the fat off. Like I said, some family stuff, some other things, but I didn't feel like it was long in the tooth. I didn't feel like, oh, this should end it or something. So,
Mhm.
but you are going with you said a 9.
Going with a full 9.
Going a full 9. So, well, there you go. We did it. We'll probably definitely be talking more about this one after 9. What do you think about it? What do you think about some of our critiques? What would be your score? Let us know on the Twitter, the Facebook, the YouTube, anywhere you can find us. We would appreciate it. And let us know what you thought of this movie, because we're always curious to talk and get some information. We go back and forth. As long as you're nice, we welcome you. So, until next time, it'll not be boring.